What's up, Juventini? Alberto here. Got all your Juventus news. All right, Prem Club swirling around two Juventus talents. Bernardeschi, is he en route for a return? The crazy horse Rabiot set to get an extension, and it might be 3 years. All right, and Gazzetta paints the picture about where we stand and what Juve's actual targets are in January. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. This is the AJC. Let's rock. Let's get into it with Gazzetta saying that there are Premier League clubs swirling around Iling Jr., which is no new reports. All right, we've known this for quite some time, that the Premier League clubs have been looking at bringing in Iling Jr. in. Juve looks like they're willing to make that move because there has been no contract renewal found and the player is looking for playing time, all right? But the new reports today suggest that Premier League clubs are starting to look at Matthias Sule, all right? And that they could be coming in with some offers. Now, the reports also say there is nothing official coming from any English side so far for Sule, but they do remain firm that Juve's intentions are to get the contract extension done with Sule, which will happen sooner rather than later. Obviously, this does not rule out any sales, but Juve's intention remains get the contract extension done, return him to Turin at season's end, and potentially be part of the squad next season. So it appears that Iling Jr. is on the outs and heading away from Juventus. It's also starting to sound like it's something he wants. Now, my question to all of you is, if you had the choice of picking one over the other to remain at Juventus between Iling Jr. and Sule, who would you pick and why? All right. Now, they both have massive ceilings in my opinion. All right. Both tons of potential. Sule, we've just had the benefit of watching him on a great loan spell right now for Frosinone, and sadly, Iling Jr., we have not seen him in much action this season. But for me, I do think Iling Jr. is easier to slot in different setups and lineups, but I would still choose Sule because I think he's got higher potential than Iling Jr., all right? That's just me. I would choose Sule. Let me know in the comments section who you would be picking out of those two players if you could only choose one to remain at Juventus. Now, the reports continued saying that Juve's plan in January is to bring in Domenico Berardi and Manu Kone, all right? That's what the reports suggest. Now, other names still come up, Samardzic, Sudakov, but they suggest that Udinese and Shakhtar will be unwilling to make these moves in January. And also Berardi and Kone, for me, doesn't seem realistic in January. Also from the side that Juve would be making some type of splash. Juve in general may be posturing up for the summer and making all their moves then. So dry loans definitely in play. None of these names really fit the bill for dry loans, but the reports suggest there is a name that fits the bill, and it might be a return, and it's Bernardeschi. Bernardeschi would make sense in a sense. It would be nothing for Juventus to get the player back and bring him in, and Allegri likes the fact that he can cover multiple positions. So the reality of Bernardeschi and a return, I think it's very, very possible, and the reports today suggest that. I don't want it, but it might actually happen. Do you think it's going to happen, or do you think we get one of these other targets named? Berardi, Kone, Samardzic, Sudakov. I still think one of Samardzic or Sudakov is coming. Hit me in the comments. Now we get to the crazy horse, Adrian Rabiot. Feelings around his contract extension are calm between Juventus and the player. The player wants to just focus on the season and Juve and this run for the Scudetto. He doesn't want to get into contract talks until the spring. The club is happy to do that because the reports suggest that the relationship is stronger than it ever has been. So much so, we could be looking at the crazy horse being extended for 3 years at Juventus with the potential of an increase in salary. So We got to get into this. This came up a lot over this past game with Monza. That performance he had there was brilliant. And I said, that's the Rabiot we need for Juventus to succeed, because we are dying for some impact out of the midfield. If he can do that consistently from here on out for the rest of the season, I would be comfortable with a multi-year extension. The salary, though, I'm not so sure I would increase it. If he can have that amount of contributions to goals like he did last season come season's end, maybe, just maybe. But right now, his role, it's definitely there, and he has a spot. He has a role amongst his team, but I really need to know what the options are moving on from him, because if there's a more technically gifted midfielder that we could potentially bring in that helps us out, that could have more of an impact in the midfield, I'm not going to say no if we've tied up too much funds in Adrien Rabiot. The other thing is, what are we doing moving forward next season? Are we staying in the same setup? Is McKennie going to be remaining as a midfielder? Is he going to be remaining as a right wing back? Because for me, in the midfield, he's not as effective as he is on right wing back this season. So he would be the guy I'd look to move. And then, yeah, maybe I'd be more comfortable with the Rabiot extension. There's a lot to think about. But right now, for more money, that's where I don't necessarily agree with it, because I think we're kind of right on that cusp of it being maybe a little bit too much for Adrien Rabiot right now. Am I alone on that? Let me know in the comment section what you think about a multi-year extension for Rabiot and at a higher wage. Hit me in the comments. You guys know the drill. Can't wait to hear your thoughts on if you think we're going to be getting one of Berardi, Koni, Samardzic, or Sudakov. Do you think Bernardeschi returns? And who would you choose between Illing and Sule? I'll be back tomorrow with another daily update. As always, fino alla fine, Forza Juve. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Ciao tutti.